the ultimate live-action bald and not-so-bald genius Lex Luthor list. Lex Luthor, Superman's greatest foe, the brilliant billionaire with a god complex, the man who dares to challenge the Man of Steel. Over the decades, this legendary villain has been brought to life by some of Hollywood's most iconic actors across movies, TV shows, and even old-school serials. From the latest genius mastermind to the earliest bald baddies, we're counting down every official live-action Lex Luthor in history. Buckle up, because it's time to dive into the world of kryptonite, corporate corruption, and some seriously diabolical monologues. Number 1. The New Age Nemesis, Nicholas Hoult, 2025 present. Coming in hot as the latest Lex Luthor, Nicholas Hoult is set to bring a brand new take on the villain in James Gunn's highly anticipated Superman, 2025. While we haven't seen him in action just yet, Hoult's casting signals a return to a more menacing, calculating, and potentially ruthless version of the character. Known for his incredible range, from Beast in the X-Men franchise to the devious Peter III in The Great, Hoult has the acting chops to give us a truly terrifying Luthor. Will he be the cold and strategic businessman, a power-hungry genius, or something entirely fresh? One thing's for sure, when this Lex debuts, Superman's got a serious problem on his hands. 2. The Brutal Mastermind, Michael Cudlitz, 2023. Michael Cudlitz brought a terrifying and ruthless Lex Luthor to life in the final season of Superman and Lois, 2023. Unlike previous versions, this Lex was physically intimidating, cold, and seething with a long-brewing hatred for Superman. After spending years in prison, Cudlitz's Lex emerged with a brutal plan for revenge, and he wasn't just playing mind games. He unleashed sheer, calculated violence in a way that made him one of the most fearsome Luthors yet. With his gruff voice, commanding presence, and raw, intimidating rage, Cudlitz delivered a Lex that felt like a genuine threat to Superman's entire world. Number 3. The Gritty Criminal Genius, Titus Welliver, 2022. In Titan Season 4, 2022, we got one of the most chilling versions of Lex Luthor to date, played by Titus Welliver. Known for his intense performances, Bosch, Lost, Welliver brought an aged, powerful, and quietly menacing Lex to life. This version was a calculating mastermind, deeply connected to the mystical side of the DC Universe. Though his time was short-lived, thanks to a particularly nasty encounter with Starfire's powers, he left a haunting impression, a Lex who truly felt untouchable, manipulative, and always 10 steps ahead. His presence may have been brief, but his legacy in Titans was undeniable. 4. The Social Network turned supervillain, Jesse Eisenberg, 2016-2021. Jesse Eisenberg brought a radically different take to the role in Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, 2016, and later reprised his part in Justice League, 2017, and Zack Snyder's Justice League, 2021. Unlike the traditional power-suited businessman, Eisenberg's Lex was a twitchy, tech-savvy billionaire with a Mark Zuckerberg-like paranoia and a deep hatred for gods. While his manic energy wasn't for everyone, his ultimate move, unleashing Doomsday and baldly threatening Batman, left a lasting mark on the DCEU. Number 5. The Multiversal Mastermind, Jon Cryer, 2019-2021. Who would have thought the goofy guy from 2.5 Men would become one of the best live-action Luthors? Jon Cryer shocked fans when he debuted in Supergirl, 2019-2021, later crossing over into Crisis on Infinite Earths. His version of Lex was equal parts charming, ruthless, and completely obsessed with proving his superiority over Superman. Cryer channeled the comic book Lex perfectly, with a mix of genius intellect and unhinged ambition, making him one of the standout villains of the Arrowverse. 6. The Billionaire Power Suit, Michael Rosenbaum, 2001-2011. Ask any Smallville fan who the best live-action Lex Luthor is, and they'll probably say Michael Rosenbaum. From 2001 to 2011, Rosenbaum transformed Lex from Clark Kent's best friend into his greatest enemy, showing us a tragic descent into villainy. With a perfect mix of charm, intelligence, and raw menace, this was the Lex Luthor who made fans root for him even when he was clearly up to no good. He also remains one of the best bald Luthors, proving that the best villains are the ones who believe they're the hero of their own story. Number 7. The Classic Evil Returns, Kevin Spacey, 2006. In Superman Returns, 2006, Kevin Spacey took on the role of Lex Luthor, channeling elements of Gene Hackman's portrayal while adding a much darker, more sinister edge. His Lex was brutal, vindictive, and utterly ruthless, going as far as stabbing Superman with kryptonite and leaving him to die. Spacey brought an unsettling presence to the role, making Lex feel more sadistic than ever before. While Superman Returns had a mixed reception, Spacey's more serious, menacing take on Lex stood out as a highlight. Number 8. The Silver Fox of Supervillainy. John Shea, 1993 to 1997. Jumping back to the 90s, John Shea played a suave, sophisticated Lex Luthor in Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman, 1993 to 1997. Unlike the bald, power-hungry businessman we were used to, Shea's Lex rocked a full head of hair, at least at first, and was more of a charming rogue than an outright supervillain. His rivalry with Superman was fueled by jealousy, arrogance, and a weird obsession with Lois Lane. Though he wasn't the most threatening Lex, he certainly made an impression as a classic 90s villain with some serious billionaire swag. Number 9. The Bald Brute. Sherman Howard, 1989 to 1992. By season 2 of Superboy, the show realized Lex needed an upgrade, so in stepped Sherman Howard. With a more traditional bald look and a sharper edge, Howard's Lex was more of the classic villain fans knew from the comics. His version of Luthor was ruthless, calculating, and absolutely obsessed with destroying Superboy. Though Superboy remains a deep cut in Superman media, Howard's take deserves some love for giving us a more comic-accurate Lex before it was mainstream. Number 10. The Business Tycoon with a Dark Side. Scott James Wells, 1988 to 1989. In the ultra-cheesy Superboy TV series, 1988 to 1989, Scott James Wells played a younger, more arrogant version of Lex Luthor. Though he wasn't as polished as later versions, his portrayal set the stage for Lex as a billionaire businessman with a deep hatred for Superboy. This version leaned heavily into Lex's cocky, megalomaniacal side, making him more of a rich bully than a true mastermind. But hey, every great villain has to start somewhere. 11. The classic movie megalomaniac, Gene Hackman, 1978-1987. Now we're getting to the legends. Gene Hackman brought Lex Luthor to life in Superman the Movie, 1978, and its sequels Superman 2, 1980, Superman 4: The Quest for Peace, 1987. His portrayal leaned more into camp, but let's be real, Hackman knew how to deliver a villainous monologue like no other. Though his version was more of a land-grabbing criminal mastermind than a billionaire genius, Hackman made Lex both hilarious and threatening, proving that you don't need CGI to make a great supervillain. Just some good old-fashioned wit, a loyal henchman, Otis, and a ridiculously elaborate plan to sink California into the ocean. Number 12. The Golden Age villain, Lyle Talbot, 1950. Going way, way back, Lyle Talbot was the first actor to play Lex Luthor in live action in the 1950 serial Atom Man vs. Superman. This Lex was more of a typical mad scientist, with evil schemes involving teleportation and nuclear weapons, pretty advanced for the 1950s. Though Talbot's version wasn't as deep or complex as later Luthor's, he set the stage for every live-action version to follow. Without this early portrayal, who knows what Lex would have become? Final thoughts. Who's the ultimate live-action Lex? From mad scientists to tech moguls, from charming billionaires to full-blown psychopaths, Lex Luthor has taken many forms over the decades. But the real question is, who is your favorite live-action Lex? Do you prefer the cold and calculating genius of Rosenbaum, the campy yet iconic Hackman, or maybe Eisenberg's hyper-intelligent, twitchy tech bro take? Let us know in the comments. And hey, if you enjoyed this deep dive into Lex Luthor's live-action legacy, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe for more geeky content, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. That's it, geeks. Always remember to enjoy your watch, and beware of bald men with a grudge against Kryptonians. You never know when they might be plotting world domination.